Okay, I think we will go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Business Analysis Certificate Program information session. This is hosted today by the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, a longtime partner in our business analysis program. I'm going to talk a little bit about who I am and how we all fit together in the pieces. But most importantly today, we're going to talk about our business analysis certificate program. So that's why we are gathered together. So let me do one real quick adjustment right over here, and then I'm going to move forward. So we're actually doing this as a collaborative. We have a co-delivery schedule for this fall. The University of North Carolina, Charlotte is kind enough to host this session today. We will also in our classes this fall have participants and may on the information session today as well from the University of Delaware, Baldwin-Wallace University, and Westchester Community College, which is part of the SUNY network, State University of New York. So I'm with Orion Development Group. So let me talk a little bit about who I am. My name is Mandy Dietz. I am the practice leader for business analysis, along with project management and customer experience transformation. I am the author of all of the content that we'll be talking about today, and I will this semester also be the instructor for all four of the classes in the program. I have been with Orion for almost 25 years. I haven't nudged it up yet. A partner in the firm, and I have spent over the last 24 or 25 years working with all sorts of clients from both a training and a consulting perspective, working on improving how they do business. So I love doing this work. I've been teaching the open enrollment classes at UNC Charlotte. The very first business analysis class was taught there in 2004, and we've really morphed and expanded the program over the years since then. Prior to my time at Orion, I spent about 20 years in the financial services industry. So I was typically on the business side in a leadership role, but I also had responsibility for the technology teams in many cases. So I bring a lot of different perspectives to the classes. I bring lots of experiences and stories. Sometimes I don't share the names of the clients, and that's usually pretty obvious why that is when we get into some of those stories. I'm actually based in St. Pete, Florida. So it's a beautiful sunny day here. Others might think about it as being an incredibly hot and humid day here, and that would apply as well. But as we get into the latter part of the semester, those of you who might be in points north of here, I do have a tendency to gloat occasionally about what the weather is like here in Florida. So just a fair warning for you. Try to make sure it's a fun experience for everybody one way or another. So a couple of other little things just as tidbits for you. I live in Florida, so you can see the sunsets that we get to experience here in St. Pete on the West Coast. My passion in life is scuba diving. So on the second day of every class, I generally start off with my latest underwater photography. I am absolutely a rookie and amateur in that regard, but I do have fun. These are the three pictures you see along the bottom are in fact some of my photography. That's a lemon shark on the left for those of you who are Finding Nemo fans and wanted to know who Bruce was. I love to ride, love to swim, love to be outdoors, enjoying things. And I have 3 kids. They are all of feline nature. You see them. And because we're now doing virtual delivery from home, it is not uncommon for you to get to meet these characters during class as we go along. So what I wanted to talk about today, first off, was to sort of give you an overview of this concept of business analysis. I get a lot of folks in the series who are interested in becoming BAs, business analysts, but they need to get a better understanding of what that is, what that means. So we'll talk a little bit about it, so see if that's a career path or an avenue or a topic that is of interest to you, which is an important part of the registration process to make sure it's something you want to take. Then I'm talking about each of the different classes. There are 4 classes in our certificate program. We'll cover that. Talk a little bit about people who benefit from attending the seminar. I want to show you the classes when we're offering those classes this fall. And then we've got for UNC Charlotte, we have some pricing and discount information and also how to register. And for those of you who are here through Baldwin-Wallace or Westchester County or University of Delaware, then each of your university partners will be able to reach out and help you with that information as well. And then finally, if we've got some additional questions, I want to try to tackle that for you as well. So I think I've scheduled about 30 minutes worth of discussion or information for you, and then plenty of time for Q&A as we work through this. So again, I think there's some chats out there that if you have questions, you may put them out in the chat. If you need help, please put those out in the chat. We are recording the session, so it will be available for a follow-up if anyone needs that. And certainly, if you have any kind of technical issues at all, please make sure that you reach out to Sam at Bumgarner, who's our contact point at UNC Charlotte, and I think Michael's here as our technical support person as well. So I'll go ahead and push right on through, but please feel free to put some chats out there if you have any questions or you need anything at all. All right, so let's start off with this concept of business analysis in general. So the definition that appears in the IIBA suggests there's a couple of things that they put in the business analysis body of knowledge. And I'll talk about the BA BOK here in a couple of minutes. But one of the things that's out there is that business analysis is the activity of enabling change in an enterprise by understanding the needs, recommending solutions that will ultimately deliver value to our stakeholders, and doing that within a context. So you're going to see there are 6 words in there that are, oops, I've lost my video camera again. Sorry, hang on one second. That's been happening some. So I'm going to do one switch real quickly and go to a different camera just to make sure we don't have that problem happening on a continual basis. Sorry about that. So those 6 words that are highlighted, change, need, solution, value, stakeholders, and context, also fall within the business analysis core concepts model. So you'll see what we call the bug diagram over on the right. It shows that all of those concepts are really at the essence of business analysis, and they're an integral part of how we deliver value in this role. So we're going to spend some time in the classes talking about each of those and how they all fit together. But we really are trying to think about how do we enable change and deliver value at a variety of levels in the organization. We can do this strategically, so those large major initiatives. We can also do it in a more tactical or operational level. But it's about generally, we think about a BA function happening within a project. So I've assigned a project. We need to go get requirements, if you will. That's one of the ways that we apply that. But we may also be doing business analysis all throughout our organization because we are constantly looking for defining needs and recommending solutions that will help deliver value. So a lot of times that business analysis work can actually drive what our next project is going to be. So one of the things that I like to do is I think about business analysis as this bridge. Very often we have, and business analysis is not specific necessarily to technology, but that's really the thrust of the focus that we will use throughout the series. Although if you've come in and you're in training or learning and development, we can also apply this because it is the business and then it's a solution provider. But in this case, we'll talk about IT. And in lots of organizations, those two organizations exist as islands, and there are lots of sharks and other obstacles in between the communication of those two. And so our job in business analysis, there's actually a couple of roles. The first one is, before we get to the IT piece, really helping the business identify and prioritize what its business needs are. So really diving into the business, understanding their needs, being able to prioritize those. And then the next step is that we travel across the bridge, and that is to work with the solution providers with requirements to make sure that we find the right solution and implement that solution in a way that, again, addresses the business need and delivers on the business value. And I would say that for many years, the focus of business analysis, this concept of writing requirements, was the essence of the BA role. You figure out what they need, you write requirements, you help communicate over to the technology group. Where I think it's evolved in the last handful of years is that it's more of a back and forth collaborative, back and forth across the bridge, solution ideas, involving the users, bringing them closer together, and we talk about tools and techniques to accomplish that. The other way that it's evolved over the years, I think, is that once we figure out what the solution needs to be, that the business analysis function also involves how do we implement that in such a way that we actually achieve the expected business value. So done is when we've delivered on the expected results. Done is not necessarily when, hey, we went live and all the lights still came on the next day, right? So the business analysis function involves the back and forth collaborative work of understanding the business need, helping to figure out how to solve for the need, and then making sure that the solution ultimately delivers on the business value. So is that important in organizations? It has been important for many years. It is increasingly important in today's world. So there's a term out there called the digital transformation. And the digital transformation is about leveraging technology and data to allow us to deliver better business results. So when we think about the digital transformation, sure, it's about the hardware and the software and the applications that are out there. We know how important data is today, both in terms of serving our customers, anticipating future needs, all of those aspects. But you can't have those if you don't also have processes and the right organization in place. So the business analysis function, the role here contributes to this in a couple of ways. First off, it helps to make sure that we have a great solid line alignment between what the business needs and what the technology solutions are or might be. Those are not independent topics. They are closely aligned, and the BA plays a key role in making that happen. We want to make sure that as we think about solving problems or leveraging new technology that might be out there, that we maintain this business centricity, that it is what does the business need to do in order to be successful. I just came off of a session I was teaching on customer experience, and I think I would even expand that business centricity to be customer centric as well. So how do we make sure that the solutions that we are coming up with fulfill our business needs, and at the end of the day, our business needs are around fulfilling the needs of our customers. And then the third bullet I have on here is just making sure we understand that when we did our strategic plan, we identified high priority needs, we defined value, and we said, here's what success looks like. The BA plays an integral role of continuing that thread of value through from a strategic into the tactical and into the requirements, into the solution, into the implementation and the validation of success and adoption of whatever technology there may be. So the BA role plays a really integral part of this world of digital transformation that we're all challenged with in our lives today. Here's the BABOK that I was talking about, or the BABOK. It is the body of knowledge that helps us understand the roles, the responsibilities, the terminology, the definitions around business analysis. As with most bodies of knowledge, you might be familiar with PMBOK, the project management body of knowledge, and there's another one for process management. I won't get all the letters right. But in all of those cases, there are always these knowledge areas. So knowledge areas are core competencies that help us transcend the phases of a project and ensure that we are doing the right things with the right tools, with the right skills to deliver the value to our customer. So you can see that the knowledge areas that are listed here, if I sort of start in the middle of this, the strategy analysis is helping us at the very top figure out what are we trying to accomplish, how does our strategic plan align with the project work that needs to be done, and the as you work around sort of some other parts of that, we take that and we figure out the business analysis, planning, and monitoring. So what do we need to do from a BA perspective in order to align with what that high level set of goals are? That drives us into elicitation and collaboration. So how do we go harvest the business needs? And then we look at requirements analysis and design definition. That is the aspect of taking those business needs, converting them into workable requirements, and then helping to figure out what the solution needs to be, and then ultimately the evaluation of the solution. And all throughout this journey, we have requirements lifecycle management. We're continuing to manage. So all of those boxes, those 6 boxes, are the core competencies of business analysis. They transcend the project phases. They can be happening all throughout the life cycle of the project. And again, our classes are aligned with these knowledge areas. I will tell you, though, just as a quick note before I move into the certificate program itself, or even as I start to do that, it is not my job to help you pass the CBAP, the Certified Business Analysis Professional exam. It is my job, I believe, to help you be a better BA, to help you perform business analysis activities more effectively. So with that in mind, our learning objectives for the program are to make sure everybody has a common understanding of the fundamentals, what's involved in business analysis, terms, definitions, roles, responsibilities, things like that. Want to make sure that we understand the knowledge areas that I just talked about, and the tools and the tasks and the techniques associated with performing or fulfilling those different knowledge areas. And I do a lot of work around what I'm going to call the art and the science of business analysis. So while I want you to learn tools and techniques, there are a lot of skills that we focus on as well. So I want the science of the tools and the art of the skills and the attributes and behaviors that go along with that. And I think one of the things that, if I go back to my bridge for a second, one of the things that has evolved over time is the recognition that a BA is not just an order taker, that the BA's role is to foster collaboration and ensure that there's ownership all throughout. So we're not just asking people interview questions. We are working on ways to engage them, make sure we have the back and forth across the bridge collaboration taking place. And so we'll talk about tools and techniques that will help us make sure that we are continuing to build on the collaboration as well. And I also, when we get done with this class, you'll understand what are all the artifacts and deliverables that the business analysis function produces. And I sometimes, you'll hear me say a BA or a business analyst, or you'll hear me talk about business analysis. And the reason why I want to regularly go back and just talk about it in terms of business analysis is that the titles of people who do BA work are not always BAs. They may have lots of different names and they may share some of these responsibilities. There are architects and analysts and process analysts and project managers who end up doing some business analysis work. So while I oftentimes will talk about the BA, the business analyst role, I want you to also think in terms of all of these being the business analysis functions, irrespective of who performs them. So as I mentioned, there are 4 classes. I want to talk about each one of these: the foundations of business analysis, eliciting and documenting requirements, requirements analysis and design definition, and solution deployment and evaluation. One of the questions that comes up, and I'm sure I'll be happy, I'll tackle it again at the end if there are questions. In a perfect world, you would take these 4 classes in this order. They are intended to be sequential. However, I oftentimes have folks who are like, okay, well, we're offering all 4 of these classes this fall, but I can't make the first one. Does that mean I can't start this fall? The answer is absolutely not. You can still take you could take 1 class if you only wanted to take 1 class, or you can take them out of order. I think with a couple of exceptions, I would really encourage you to try to make sure that you do them in some semblance of the sequence, as opposed to just, I'll pick this one and then I'll do one when I can. But you can do each one of these classes as a standalone class as well. And I see that there's a question out there Sharon, we will get to costs in just a little bit. So if you'll bear with me a second and let me get through the courses and we'll come back and talk about that. So the first class is the foundations of business analysis. So there's a couple of things that we do here. One of the most important aspects is to make sure we understand all of the foundations of business analysis, if you will. It is, again, all the definitions, roles and responsibilities, and basic framework concepts. It is also, though, how we get a project started. So it is the point at which we understand the organizational strategy and the operational reality, and how do we identify and define business needs. And oftentimes a BA doesn't get involved until after this step, but I think this content's really important to understand what should have happened when you get assigned a role in a project. So again, figuring out what projects should be worked on, and then once we know that we have a project that's been approved and authorized, understanding who our stakeholders are, and also figuring out how are we going to go about tackling all the business analysis activities that need to take place associated with this project. The second class is probably what I would say is the most tool-rich of the classes. This is eliciting and documenting requirements. And so as the title might suggest, we're going to focus on eliciting and documenting requirements. So how do we do that in a way that fosters stronger collaboration? So we'll talk about some tools and techniques to help us with that. We're going to look at different tools from an elicitation perspective and collaboration to try to make sure we get a full understanding of the business need. One of the tool sets that we'll work on are process analysis tools. So our business processes are a great source of information to help us understand what we're trying to accomplish, where our pain points are, and therefore what our requirements are for the solution. We'll also talk about user stories and use cases, and those are really powerful collaborative tools. User stories started in the agile environment. I find them also being used in a waterfall environment, and we'll talk about what all that means if those are foreign terms to you. Waterfall is a define the requirements. It's very structured approach. Agile is more change oriented, but we'll talk about both of those methodologies in the foundations of business analysis class, and then we'll see how they play out in eliciting and documenting requirements. We'll also work on writing requirements, so understanding what makes a good requirement, and again, making sure that we continue to focus on value delivery. So what are we doing to ensure that we are all throughout, from the point at which the strategic plan and the business case authorized improvements or authorized a project, that we're ensuring that that same value definition continues on. The third class is requirements analysis and design definition. Here's where we're going to take a look at those requirements that were written. We're going to figure out, are they great requirements? Do they align with what the business needs are? And do that validation step and verification. And then we're going to help look for ways to define what the solutions might be, to evaluate those, and do some prioritization of those requirements as well, and managing the requirements all throughout the life cycle. That includes changes, prioritization, tracking status, improvement, etc. And then making sure that we're finding solutions that deliver on the needs and come up with the best overall recommendations. So again, we're continuing to focus on value delivery and collaboration, and I'm going to add in creativity in this one as well. So making sure that we continue those same concepts. The fourth class is solution deployment and evaluation. And again, this is one that I love teaching all these classes, but I particularly enjoy this one because this is our chance to, again, apply more tools to our projects that help us ensure that we actually deliver on the expected value that was defined up front in a business case or a project charter or statement of work. So we're going to trace that value all the way through. We're going to talk about what it takes to be successful in terms of solution implementation, organizational readiness, and then as we implement, we take a look at what is impeding our ability to be successful. So we went live, but we have not reduced turnaround time, or we have not achieved the objectives we set out to accomplish. So we look for ways to improve those. figure out how we measure that success, and then we work on closing those gaps. So it shows that the business analysis function, again, extends beyond, hey, we write requirements. It's a, how do we successfully implement, work with the business to deliver the expected value. So those are the 4 classes. When we think about who ought to attend the sessions, if you are doing BA work, I find folks who are new to the field learn lots of things. I also find folks who have been doing BA work for many years, but have never had the structure, walk away going, gosh, I wish I'd had this class a handful of years ago. It validates things that they knew they were doing that were right, but it also gives them additional tools and structure and framework and words to go with work. And it gives them some talking points and some tools that help them. So people who are interested in moving into it. So yes, it is a little bit of a challenge as an instructor, but I find it also fun to connect and work collaboratively with those who have lots of experience and those who are just now starting in the field. And there's a lot of great knowledge sharing and work that goes into those folks coming together. I oftentimes have teams of folks from the same organization attend the series together. They get a chance to work on their own projects during the class. In most cases, there are a couple of case studies that I think are more generic in nature, but they oftentimes, at a minimum, get to pause and apply to how they want to change what they're doing in their organization as well. And then I also have had folks, especially over the last couple of years, I've had leaders attend who are not going to be doing the BA work, but they need to have a better understanding of what that is so that they can provide and figure out what the support is that they need to offer in order for the BA function to be successful in their organization. So it's a pretty wide array. So again, project leaders, as well as organizational leaders, and folks doing the work and folks who would like to be able to do the work. All right, so the schedule for this fall, our first class is in just a couple of weeks, the Foundations of Business Analysis. Again, we are doing all 4 classes virtually this semester. So everyone will use Zoom as our framework for that. Foundations of Business Analysis is in September. October will be eliciting and documenting requirements. RAD will be in November, and then we finish up in the first week of December with solution deployment and evaluation. So there was a question out there about prices. I'm going to pause, and Sam, I'm going to let you talk about these are the prices and the registration process for UNC Charlotte. And for those who are here with other universities, again, your university partners can also talk you through that. But Sam, if you want to go ahead and take a minute and talk about what you've got on this slide, and maybe then I'll flip the next one for you as well.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, Mandy, and welcome everyone. Yeah, I'm going to speak to our university, UNC Charlotte prices and discounts. Now, just so you know, if you are with another school, you registered with another school and you're part of this program, everything is, for the most part, very similar, though I know that those universities and colleges will share that information with you specifically. So the cost for each of the 4 courses is $12.95. Keep in mind that is going to include all of your course materials. We'll get those to you electronically. Again, we'll use Zoom for all of these classes. If you work, for example, with UNC Charlotte, you'll be receiving all of your information from our university, and so goes it with the other schools as well. We do have a few different discounts that you can take advantage of. We ask that you just take advantage of one of them, but there are several. The first is our 5% discount. If you register at least 2 or more weeks before the first class, you'll get a 5% discount on that class. The second is our bundling discount. This is usually our most popular discount. And that discount, if you register for all 4 of the classes at the same time, you will get a 15% discount, and that's on each of the courses overall. So you'll see here that I put it's a savings of $777 if you register for all of the courses at the same time. And then I know Mandy mentioned that it's not unusual for certain companies, organizations who want to send at least 3 or more participants through this program at the same time. If you do that, you certainly are eligible for an additional discount, and that's the group discount of 15%. So again, we just ask that you take advantage of one of those discounts. We're happy to talk through any of those with you. You'll certainly get information from us and the other schools following this information session, but that does help at least bring the cost down for you. Mandy, if you want to switch to the next slide, I can chat it up there too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and this is again just for UNC Charlotte. To register, you can do so online. We provided our link there, but if you go to our UNC Charlotte website and go to the certificate page, you can click through and register that way. So you can do so completely online if you'd like to do so, or if you'd just like to speak with somebody over the phone in person. We have that phone number there. Our registration team is available to help out anytime, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And if you have questions, again, that's our email address to ask any questions. But again, we'll be reaching out to you. So no matter which school you come through for this certificate program, you will get lots of personal attention. I know these classes are live online, as Mandy mentioned, but you're gonna end up collaborating a lot, of course, during the classes. We'll see your faces, unlike this information session. We'll see your lovely faces. You'll chat with Mandy and with one another throughout the classes, and then you'll get lots of personal attention from us. Anything you may need, we're here for you at any time with any questions or anything that we can help you with. You'll get that attention from us, UNC Charlotte, and from any of the schools that you end up registering through.
Good. All right, Sam, thank you. So that takes us to the Q&A, and I've been trying to respond to a couple of things in chat while Sam was talking. There was one question about, do you complete a project in class? So it would have taken me a really long chat to respond to that. So I thought I would try to tackle that one in person. So let's talk first about open enrollment. So in each of the classes, it's lots of workshops and interactions. There are lots of activities. Generally for a class, I will try to pick a scenario that we can work on and build on all throughout. But in most cases, it's going to be a more generic type scenario or case study that we're working with. There are going to be a couple of occasions when you have a chance to take a project that you're working on in your workplace and apply that. But again, because I have varying levels of experience that are attending the class, and some have exposure and some have projects that are, larger than Earth, and therefore it's hard to dissect it into the pieces to cover in a logical time frame. I generally will try to set the stage for that. Now, having said that, when you have folks who either you've got 3 or 4 folks from the same program that are attending together, or same organization that are attending together, we can usually find a way for you to work on your project. If you have something specific and that's really important to you, we can find, I'm pretty flexible. I try to make sure that it's an experience that is meaningful for all of you. What I will say is that a lot of times we'll get 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 folks who attend, and then they go, you know what, this is really great for our organization, and we want to do this on site for our company or our organization. When we go do this on site for your company, one of the really big values of that is that you absolutely work on your projects in the class. I did one this spring with a large client, and we went through the same series of classes, and they were broken into teams and worked on theirs. So that's why it's a yes, sort of, kind of, maybe, yes, absolutely. That's hopefully that's a good answer for you. But the bottom line answer that I think is worth emphasizing is that there are lots of hands-on activities. And so whenever I can connect them so that we have the thought stream that goes from one activity to the next, and I can use the same project or scenario, I try to do that. So I see there's a follow-on question about how many participate in the program. That's a great question. It ranges. We've had over the last couple of years, as the world has evolved, we've had some smaller programs that had 3 or 4 participants. We've had 25 participants. So I would say probably my average in our new world of things is probably somewhere around 10 to 12. We will, again, we'll figure out how to make that happen one way or another. So the other question that came up, how many days a week will the class be? The class are 2-day classes. They are back-to-back classes. So we'll do a morning session, break for lunch, have an afternoon session, and then go at it the next day as well. We have looked at a couple of different variations on that, but that's what we're offering this fall will be the 2 days back-to-back. All right, so other questions? And hopefully I need to scroll back up and see if I missed anybody. There was a question out there about whether or not this program is offered in the spring as well. We certainly hope so. That's our intent, to offer it in the fall and offer it again in the spring each year.
And that kind of brings up something else. And I know Mandy basically alluded to this earlier, but as you register for all 4 courses, certainly your intent when you do so is that you'll be able to attend all 4 courses, but we know life happens. Something may end up coming up with work, family member, whatever. And you need to transfer into, let's say you're registered for the 3rd course and all of a sudden those dates are not going to work for you. Can you transfer into the next section, which, for the fall, that would be in the spring? The answer is yes. We're happy to do that for you. I know the other schools feel the same. We certainly will just move you into what works best for you. That's what we're here to do, is to help you out. We know many of you are working professionals and things happen. So we will work with you the best we can, and we're happy to do that.
Never mind the COVID. Things change in our worlds on a regular basis. What other questions do we have? I'm not seeing any more online. I'm just trying to scroll back through there and make sure we didn't miss anything. We have the costs, we have the when it runs. So yeah, we do 9 to 12 and then 1 to 4 Eastern Standard Time on the classes. When we're doing them in person, sometimes we'll cut the lunch short, but I find that with the online world that people need to go disconnect, catch up on the rest of the world, and reconnect. So we generally, unless there's some really unique thing that the whole class says, oh, please, can we shorten lunch? We generally stick to that schedule pretty closely. All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions, I hope that we'll get to see many of you in class in a couple of weeks. I do try to make sure that it's a fun experience, and online delivery has its challenges, but Sam's been out there with me pretty regularly, and I try to make sure that folks stay engaged and have fun, and we go off topic, and the dive pictures are worth the cost of enrollment, right? No.
That's right. We've been, and I'll say this, we weren't doing many live online courses in this particular arena before COVID, and we were sort of forced to go there during that time, and have since continued it. And we've been amazed at the positive feedback from these live online courses. So it's been working really well. We still feel like we get that great collaboration between participants and instructors. So it's just been a good experience overall. And I think it works well for a lot of people in their schedules and where they need to be, whether it be home, office, or elsewhere. So we'll hope to see you.
And we found some great collaborative tools that we work with during the classes. So that'll be fun. All right. If you don't have anything else, then we appreciate your being here. Please reach out to Sam or your respective universities and get signed up. And we'll look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. Thanks, everybody.